Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Jivin Jukebox. I have all of my pieces cut out, as should you, and we're going to hop right in here. And this is going to be a cool little piece full of nostalgia. Perfect for, well, you know, it's funny, even I remember jukeboxes, maybe not as cool looking as the ones that some of you remember, but I still got to experience that with 45s actually. And this was when I was in like 7th grade in the 90s. So we're definitely far removed from that. But either way, we're going to start off by putting some of the flat sections together. So you'll notice that in your cuts, in your download and your cutouts, you have two pieces that look like this. One has a tab on it. We want to use the one with the tab on it for now. We're going to put some of the elements in place for that. We're going to start with this and this little, in our case, this silver / holographic element is going to get glued to this turquoise element. I believe that's AC Pool is the color. Okay, so just get a little bit of glue on that. And this is going to match up with these little guys up here. It's going to be flush at the top, and obviously this little pattern, you need to match it up with that as well. And then it should terminate down here, these little nubs. And once we have this piece assembled, we can go ahead and take a little bit of glue, and on this main section here, we'll apply the glue and then get this glued down onto what's going to be part of the main structure of our actual jukebox. You'll notice that there are two little markers here on the left and right. And all we want to do is just match this up with the existing cutout, like so. Just make sure you've got that lined up correctly. There we go. Okay, and just above that piece actually are two little markers, and they're for this little piece here, which we're going to put right into place using the little markers. And you'll notice there's a little notch cut out. You want the notch facing up, and just get that lined up nicely right in the center there, and press that into place. Okay, then we also have these two little green pieces, and those are going to go vertically right here. And I think those are just like little grates where probably the speakers were situated. And we tried to make them nice and decorative. Okay, so just get that centered right there. You want about equal amounts of that green above and below those horizontal lines. Okay, just keep on going here. Get rid of some of these little pieces before we get into the larger assembly. Again, try to make sure you get that nice and centered. That's about right. That looks great. Okay, next we have this little half record with our musical notes on it. That's going to get glued right there. So go ahead and apply your glue. Go easy on the glue here. You don't need to leave a hot mess on there. Just nice and easy, nice thin amounts of glue. And let's just match that up with the existing shadow layer behind there, just like that. Okay, so we've got that in place. Now there's this little half record center. In our case, it's like a turquoise color, and that's going to go just at the bottom of this element, nice and centered. There's a little marker there to help you with the placement. The cutoff part needs to be flush with the bottom of the record, so you can kind of see how that goes. Just trying to make sure you get that centered as you can. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's that. We also have two little green circles. Those are just going to go right here where we have some little markers, like that. And there's also one here. Just one little dot of glue should do. All right, wonderful. So we have that. We'll put that off to the side for a second. There's a few more little small individual parts that we're going to put together here. So we have these two and these two, and then this one little guy here. We're going to put all these together. This thin one with the cutouts is just going to go right on top of the green, as is that one, and this one with this one. Doesn't matter if it's this way or that way for these, but this one obviously you can't do that way. So that goes without saying, but we'll get those in place and we'll start rocking and rolling. I always say that, but this time it actually applies since we're making a jukebox. But yeah, back to what I was saying, as far as the jukebox goes, you don't see them anymore. Everything is now, I'm not even sure if you guys are aware of this, but a lot of restaurants and well, I guess you can call them bars or taverns, they now have touch tunes. And it's basically like a digital jukebox that you can control from your smartphone. Pretty cool idea, actually. I like to use that occasionally when I go to places where I'm with a lot of friends and family and want to kind of customize the experience. It's pretty cool. And you can all do it from your phone without even going up there. But yeah, there's definitely a nostalgia, especially to those jukeboxes where you could see that little arm, you know, grabbing the vinyl, picking it up. You can see it all happening. I thought that was the coolest thing as a kid. But those days I bet those things were probably difficult to maintain, and you know, you always had to go in and put new vinyl in, and then you had to put those little tags on the display so you knew which one you were picking. But boy, kudos to the gal or guy that invented that. I bet that was a huge hit back in the day. Okay, so then we've got this guy here. Just throw a little bit of glue on there. Don't go too crazy on the glue here. We don't want it seeping out and getting all over that shadow layer. I want to keep it, try to keep it as clean as we can. Okay, if you're using AC cardstock and you've got that texture, use the texture side anytime you can. Always, I should say. It just looks so much nicer with that texture. Okay, so that's how that looks. We've got all these little pieces ready to go. We'll put those off to the side. We also have this little guy. We can actually put this together now. It shouldn't be a problem because that's going to get adhered to the main structure once it's all done. So this is kind of a, well, I have the frontmost part cut out in a glitter. It's kind of flimsy. What you could do, if this is too much surface for you to work with, you can try breaking it into twos. Not literally, but as far as applying glue goes. So we could technically maybe just glue up to about here, like so, and then glue that half down, and then just lift up the other half, apply glue, and then it'll just kind of snap into place if it makes it easier on you. Get that first side lined up as accurately as we can, and then give it a good press. Make sure it's sitting where it needs to. Okay, just like that. And we have a little reveal here. These pieces are going to get glued into these various sections, but we won't do that until we actually have this glued down. So then I can pull this back, leave this nice and flat on my surface. Just make it a lot easier to do all the gluing. There we go, all the way to the bottom. And you know, I guess that didn't work as I planned, but for the most part, it's exactly where it needs to be. And we can press that down into place. So this part will be ready to go once the time comes. Just kind of working our way through, getting everything pre-assembled here that we can. Also, this part here, we can actually pre-assemble this too. This part is going to go on like this. We're going to have an even border. It's going to be a small border inside and a little bit of a bigger border on the outside. And get that glued into place right now, so that once we're actually done with the main structure, You just take all these pieces, pop them on, and call it a day. Okay, there we go. Again, make sure that maintain a smaller border on the inside. I can actually, I guess I can't move that out of the way. I can do this though. Oh, my glue's starting to dry. I don't want it to dry out on me. Just like that. There we go. It's a little off center. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Then we also have this cool looking piece. It's going to go on the center where the door is. Okay, and that is also going to have a little bit of a border. Let's get that in place. Just try to maintain a nice even border all the way around. I don't think we've ever used this color glitter paper. It's pretty cool actually. Okay. Actually flip that around like that and press it down. There we go. Okay, so that part's ready. That just leaves, we have got a couple panels. Yeah, and I think we're ready to start putting this thing together. So what we need, we're going to start off with the face, okay, and we're going to take this and this piece here. Okay, now one thing we need to pay attention to when we connect these two sections together, you'll notice that these tabs, these long tabs, they're both the same size, but the tabs on top, one side, they're a little bit longer, and the other side, they're a little bit shorter. Okay, so you can see that. Let me see if I can, let me flatten this out. It'd be easier to see that way. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that these here on this side, you can see where they fold. Okay, these are longer on this side and shorter on this side. So these two sections need to be connected. And what we're going to do is apply glue to this tab here. Okay, I'm going to spread that out and we'll pop that right next to this piece. And there's a score mark right here on this piece that has a little tab. Just nudge that all the way up to that score mark as far as it'll go. It should be right on top of it. And I'm going to take this and fold it over onto itself. And you can see how it sits completely flush on the other piece. And that's how you know that you've got it lined up correctly. I'm going to press down at that seam where we joined these two sections together just to make sure that it's staying for us. Okay, and that is what we end up with. So the next thing we need to do, this is the section here that has my texture. Okay, what we want to do is actually flare the bottom parts of the tabs towards you like this, or up, I guess you could say. So the texture side is here. We're going to flare these up. Okay, and this is actually going to go like this. Okay, and we want, these tabs are actually going to go back the other way eventually once we get to that point. Okay, so what we're going to do, I don't want to confuse you here, but again, texture side here, and these tabs are going up. This is the side with the smaller tabs. Okay, and to anchor this, we're going to anchor this to the face first by putting some glue on this long tab, because we have a flat bottom here and we have a flat bottom here, and we can kind of use that as a guide. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to, the very bottom of this, the very edge, you want to line that up with the very edge like this and push that as far as it'll go. All right, so that long piece is in place, and now we have these short tabs here. What we're going to do is glue those behind this structure here all the way around. Okay, so we don't have to do all the tabs all at once. We'll do a few. And this part here where these two sections join, I want to stop just before that actually. Okay, I'm going to just flip this around like this so that I can get my glue on these tabs. And I'm just going to use little dots. You don't need a lot. I'll just say we'll do the first 5 or 6. Okay, then tuck those tabs under, bring them in, and I'm kind of pushing this way as I'm pushing down from the inside. You want to make sure it's pushed in as far as it'll go. Don't crease it or destroy it, but push it in as far as it'll go. And then just press down. Okay, so just take your time with this. It's a pretty delicate little piece. If it helps, grab a dowel so you can get right into the very corner there. It's pretty important that it's in there as far as it'll go. And just press that down. Okay, and just be patient, let that set. You don't want to jump the gun here. Take a look and you can see how those tabs are sitting nice and flat up against that surface. Then we can take the next few tabs here. When we get to that top section where the two meet, we may have to kind of pull at it a little bit to get it to be nice and straight. But that's okay. And it's right there at that section right there. Okay, so we'll take these tabs, fold them over, and again, just wrap it around. And you may want to pause right at this top section here for a few extra seconds. If you want, you can kind of hold that in place with the dowel. Okay, and then just work your way over, making sure that you're pushing this thing in as far as it'll go up against this structure. This dowel is very helpful right now actually, because it's a tight little spot. It might be hard to get your fingers in there without ruining it. And you can really add a lot of pressure to help that glue seep in there. Okay, so you can see what's happening here. And I think I just have 3 more tabs, 3 more of the small tabs left. So let's get those glued into place. Flip them back so that they're flat on your surface. And then just press down. Again, I'm just using a little dowel. It's pretty accurate actually. I think this is almost a 1/4 inch dowel. Fits in there beautifully. There we go. Okay, so you can see all those little tabs. Perfect. And now all that's left is our long tab here. I'm going to open that up so that I can apply my glue to the long tab. You don't need to cover the whole thing. Just get enough on there. Fold it back and underneath the face, pushing this way up as far as it'll go against that face. And then I'm just going to use my dowel to really apply some direct pressure there. Okay, so now we have these tabs here. We're going to use that to glue this to the rest of the structure once we get it all put together. Okay, so next what we're going to do, next we're going to grab this piece, the one that has these little tabs on it, and it's going to go around like this. These tabs are actually going to get glued to the face of this, like this. We're going to slide this in. So we can actually just flip this over, have it flat on our surface. Okay, you can see how that's going to get glued into place. So just like we did before, what I want to do is start off by anchoring this to one of the larger tabs. So let's just throw some glue on this tab here. Okay, and I'm going to pop this right in place like this. This is face down now. And we just want to make sure that we get this aligned as accurately as we can. Okay, so you can see we have a horizontal line here. I want to match that up as closely as we can with that other horizontal line. Okay, so that it's like so. So now this tab, same tab that's on this side, is glued to the face of this piece. Okay, now you can flare these up and we're going to apply some glue to these little individual tabs, just like we did when we put that base together. We'll flare those down now, and we can put this on our surface. And we're just simply going to press down while making sure that this piece is going in as far as it can towards this section. And just keep it nice and flat. And just run your finger along the areas where you have the glue. I can show you here. These are all nice and glued down now. And we'll flare these out, just the individual ones. We'll finish off with the long tab. There we go. Flare those back. We'll put those down on our surface nice and flat. And just go ahead and press that down. Just like that. Okay. And you can see those tabs all in place nicely, which just leaves our long tab here. Throw a little bit of glue on that. Fold that over. Make sure it's flat. Like that. Put that down flat on our surface. Push it in as far as it'll go. And just run your finger along that tab. And there we go. Okay. So that is probably the most challenging part, which isn't even that bad. Okay, so while we have this somewhat flat, let's get our vellum in place. Okay, and we've got a few little pieces here. This one's going to go here, like so. And then we have one piece here, and one piece here, and then we've got this piece is going to go right here. Okay. And actually, before we do that, we got to put this piece in place. This is just to kind of reinforce this section. And this piece is a little bit smaller so that it doesn't show through on the other side. Make sure that you're aligning it correctly. And I'm going to begin by just putting glue on the larger sections, and then throw a little bit of glue on these small areas. You don't need to get it perfect. You don't need to get it on every single inch of it. Just do your best to try to get it on as much of the surface as you can. Okay. And just line that up. It should be centered so that you can actually see that front through here. This piece is a little bit smaller. It's like an offset, as it's called. So I shouldn't even be able to see it from this side. It's just going to reinforce it a little bit, make it thicker so it doesn't warp on us. Okay. And that's all we needed. It's also going to make it easier for us to put our vellum on. Okay, so let's start with this piece here. And again, that's going to go right there. It's larger than it needs to be, but for a good reason. And what I like to do is just use a series of little dots around the cutouts, but not too close to the cutouts, because sometimes when you push the vellum into place, it has a tendency to spread and not absorb, and it may actually show through on the vellum forward facing. We don't want that. Okay, so be very careful as you apply this, making sure that you're actually covering all of the cutouts. And very gently, I wouldn't spread it like butter. I would just tap it to keep all the glue in place and prevent it from spreading too much. Okay, there you go. So that's what it should look like. Okay. Now we got this little piece here. So just like we did before, just little dots. Keep that glue concentrated and in position. And that's going to go on just like that. Pushing down, not spreading it. And this is the inside. No one's really going to see the inside of this really. And if they do, just like when you open up a real piece of electronics, it may not be pretty on the inside, but as long as it looks good on the outside, that's all we really need to worry about. Okay, so there's that piece. Just kind of give it a little push. Okay. Now this round piece is going to go right here, and might need to kind of push this out a little bit to help it make more contact. I'm going to put some dots around this piece here. We're going to go here, and then just a few little dots here and there on these thin little areas, just to keep it in place. Okay, it might help to kind of hold it up. Just make sure you cover all those little cutouts. Okay, and then I would flip this over and push this down from the outside. And just kind of hold that in place for a few extra moments while that vellum grabs hold. There we go, perfect. Okay, then the rest of this is going to go like this, just like that. And with this, I'm not as concerned because we've got a lot of surface area here. I'm going to try a couple dots here on the grate, like so. And keep this, try to keep this yellow vellum, or whatever color you're working with here, below that previous layer so that they don't overlap. Okay, just give that a little push. Just like that. And maybe just hold that for just a few extra seconds. Make sure that it gets a good hold, and there we go. Okay, so the vellum is all in place, looking sharp. All right, so this is the bulk of the body, okay? And you'll notice that there's tabs. Those tabs need to stay on the bottom. And we have this kind of long tab here. I'm not actually gonna fold this though, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna join these two pieces together. So for now, I would just spread these out flat. Same with this. Spread those out flat. And this long piece here with this two score marks is gonna go underneath. This one's gonna go over. And we're gonna join these two to make it one long solid piece, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start applying glue to this long tab, but I'm not gonna go all the way down. I'm gonna keep it within the confines of those little markers, but I will flip this one over and do a little line right there. Okay. We're going to take this piece, pop it right on top of this piece, and nudge this over until it hits that little score mark on this piece with the long tab. Okay, just want to make sure that you're basically right on top of the score mark with the very edge of the other piece. Okay, if you got a little glue that seeped out, it's okay. Just rub it off and just keep pressing. And just keep pressing. Make sure everything is nice and solid. Okay. There we go. And don't worry about that. We've got some panels that are actually going to go over this whole thing once all's said and done. Okay, so here with this long piece, what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue this to the face, just like we did that inner part. And we're going to start with the long tab and then just kind of work our way around, just like we did before. Okay, so pretty important that we make sure that we get this part down as accurately as possible. And I don't want to do it from that angle. I kind of want to do it like this so I can actually see it. All right, so let's start by applying some glue to the long tab. Okay. And actually do this. Do it however feels most comfortable and natural. I'm going to line this up. As long as we get this first part anchored, the rest of it will go pretty smooth. And I think I'm going to go like this. Keep these parts flush. I'll explain what I mean here in a second. Okay. Pardon my head here. Pressing that down. Okay, so what I meant by that was, you'll notice there's a tab here and a tab here. You want those to be on the same plane, okay? So this little line here for the score mark should be on the same plane as this line here. So this should be a nice straight line here, okay? And I think I did a pretty good job of getting that in place. It looks, I don't think I could get any better than that. Okay, so now, just like we did before, we're just gonna curl this around and glue these down. It's gonna be very simple, actually. Okay, so now that we have the long tab in place, we can start gluing these individual little tabs. And just like we did with the face of this thing, we're gonna just do a few tabs at a time. Okay, and I can fold those over slightly. Bring this down up onto the surface, and I'm gonna be pushing this way as I'm pushing down from the inside to get those tabs glued down onto the face of our jukebox. Okay, there we go. Just make sure you're pushing as you push down. Okay, let's take a look at the front. You can see how those tabs are in place there. We've got one little tab here. That just needs a little extra love. I'll just do that one manually real quick. Okay, so now we'll fold these down and we can put little dots of glue on the next set. Okay, flip those up a little bit. I'm gonna go flat on my table, under, and just start pushing as you push down all the way around. Okay, just like that. Take a look, and that looks great. All right, so I'll get the remaining individual tabs glued down. Got a total of 6 of them there. Flare those down, tuck them under, push the entire structure in as far as it'll go while you're pushing down from the inside. There we go. And I ripped it. Okay, so there's a little tension there, and I just didn't wait long enough. So let's do that again. Lesson learned. I should know better. I've done dozens of projects like this. Okay, so this time we'll just be a little more patient and give that a few extra pushes just to make sure that it really gets a good hold. There we go. Okay. And I think the main cause here is that this has a little bit of resistance and it wants to flare out. So if those tabs are not completely set, like this one here, still not ready to go, I'll just do that one manually. Okay. All right, so I'm still holding this kind of in place so it doesn't pull itself away while I peel this back a little bit and apply glue to the last long tab here, like that. Flip that back over, pop it underneath, flat on my surface, and just press down. There we go. Now that's not going anywhere. And there we have it. Okay, so that's all constructed. And now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this piece and we're going to put this piece inside and create the back. Okay, same process. And luckily we have a little hole there where we can get our hand in. So I'm going to flare this out, because again, it's going like this, and tabs are going on the outside, just to make it easier. So let's start by anchoring it to this long tab here. Flare that down, pop this piece in, and again, this horizontal line here, where the tab begins, I want to match that up with this horizontal line as well. Okay, so I'm going to actually flip this down. You may not be able to see it for just a second here, but essentially I'm doing the same thing. I'm pushing this in, but I'm also making sure that I have it lined up correctly. So it might be helpful just to at least get a visual on that. Make sure that it's lined up. It's kind of dark in there because of all the black. It's absorbing all of the available light. But that's okay. Press that into place. Okay, let's take a look at how we did. And I'd say that's pretty good, okay? All right, so now I can take and flare these small tabs out and begin gluing them into place. Flare those back over. And again, they're going underneath. It's going to be hard to see, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. You just have to kind of feel it. I'm pushing this in as far as it'll go, and I'm pressing down from the inside. And you just have to feel with your fingers. Because when you're pushing this up against that back surface, that back piece, you can tell when it no longer will move. And you know that you've got it nice and tight. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see how those tabs are really hugging. And just for the sake of illustration here, if that is too challenging for you, you can always go like this, do a couple tabs, and get your hand underneath there, and just do one at a time. Okay, but it is going to take a little bit longer because you don't have your table helping you hold these tabs down. That's why I like to kind of use my table. So this is not the ideal method, gluing these down individually like that. So I'm going to go back to this method here, and we can get a lot more done in a shorter period of time. Okay, so I've got about 7 tabs there. Flare that down, put that down on my surface, making sure that the tabs stay tucked underneath. You can see they're tucked underneath, and I'm just kind of feeling and pushing this as far as it'll go while I'm pushing down with my finger on the inside. So these are times where I wish I had a little snake camera so you can see what's going on in there. But I think you get what I'm doing here. Okay. Same thing we did here. Just that we can't really see it because we already have one side in place. Okay, there we go. Got a couple more. This one here, I need to fix that one. It's fine though. Got enough tabs doing plenty of work here, holding this thing together. And I'm just going to wrap this up with the small tabs. There's a total of 8 of them there, actually 7. Tuck those under. They're basically resting on the surface of my table right now. I'm going to take and push those in as far as they'll go while I'm pushing down with my finger from the inside, helping those tabs connect with the back. Okay, and there you go. So you can see how that looks. I've got this one stray tab here that just did not want to cooperate. Give them a little extra love. There we go. Okay. All right, so all that's left here, and you can see how nicely these two sides matched up. Got the one long tab here. Throw a little glue on that. Flip that over. Make sure it's tucked under. Push it up against this side here as far as it'll go, and then push down with your finger onto that tab. just like that. Okay, not too bad. All right, so now we're going to flare all these little tabs inward, and we have this little piece. It's going to go inside, and we're just going to use this to glue all these tabs to, so it keeps the bottom of it nice and in position. So I'm just bringing this piece in and up as far as it'll go. And what you can do, just start by anchoring it to one of these tabs here. So you're going to take this tab and push it up against the back side of this little piece. You can see it's flat on the back, and then it has the shape of the two little feet up in the front. You can see these little feet here for the front of the jukebox. So I'll just glue that tab in first, and then we'll flip over to the other side. We'll flip this, or flare this tab out, throw a little bit of glue on that, and we can bring this up now, and then take and fold that tab onto the other side of this section, like so. And now that these two sections are in place, these are going to be a lot easier. Throw a little bit of glue on that, fold that over onto this piece. And it's just going to create a nice sturdy base for us. So it makes it a lot easier to put the bottom on. We can flare this tab out. Apply a little bit of glue on that. Fold that over. Press it onto that little skeleton piece. Just like that. The whole thing doesn't even need to be making contact. Just as long as the majority of it is, we'll be in good shape. Throw a little bit on this little triangle. Press that down. Go over here. Press that down. It's okay if it's a little messy. And we've got these tiny little triangles. Just a little dot there. Press that into place. One more here. Just like that, and press that into place. And there we go. Okay, take a look. And it looks great, sitting nice and flat. Okay, so the main structure of this thing is done. And now it's just a matter of, well, we can put the bottom on, we can put the panels on the front and the back. Okay, so here is the bottom of this. And that's just to close it up nicely. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put glue on the structure. Go ahead and just put glue on this entire bottom. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier here because we're going to spread that glue out to the very edges. Try to make this as seamless as possible. And I need a little more here. I need to refill my glue here. Okay, spread that glue out the very edge of every part of this bottom surface. I may need to go in and clean this up. I'm not sure I got enough glue on everything. Okay, and then just pop that on there like so. Make sure it's flush with the back. Flush with the sides, flush with the front. There we go, beautiful. You can actually stick your hand inside as well. Push that down completely. We'll give that a few seconds to set and look for any gaps any gaps in the seams here. So far everything looks great. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting the back on now. Okay, and you can see how nicely that fits. Pretty much spot on. Let's get our glue flowing here. Now we're going to put glue on this entire back surface minus where this little cutout is here. Okay, so we don't want to put, so I guess, you know what, with that said, why don't we just put glue on this thing? I think that would work out better. Let's just do that. So we know exactly where the glue needs to go. And I can always spread the glue out on this surface. Might just make it easier. So we don't get glue in spots where we don't need it. I like that idea. And we can always use the painting method if we need to. Okay, so spread that glue out to the very edge. I'm going to end up having to paint this, I think, with some additional glue. Okay, so pop that right into place. I would focus on the bottom, make sure that that is flush, and the sides, and then work your way up around that round section, and just kind of continue working your fingers around the perimeter, making sure that's making good contact. I do have a little bit of a gap here on the bottom, and I'll show you how you can fix that if you're experiencing the same thing. It's not a big deal at all. I may have some gaps along this perimeter as well, and that's okay. I'll show you how we can remedy that. Just keep on pushing. Okay, let's peel this back for a second so that we can push from the inside here on some of these sections. There we go. And take a look at the perimeter here. Look at your seams. Mine actually turned out pretty awesome. I don't really have any gaps. I've got a little gap there. So if you have any gaps, just grab a scrap piece of paper and just throw a little bit of glue right on the scrap and just tuck it right in between those two layers. Spread some of that glue around and just press and hold that in place, just in that one little area where it might not be making the best of contact. I'm going to use some Velcro to keep this little door closed. Okay, it comes in little strips. They're little Velcro circles, Velcro dots, whatever you want to call them. And I'll peel the backing off of one side. Okay, and we'll apply it to this little section here. Peel off the backing on the other half. Now we can close it. And it should grab hold of that paper, so when we peel it back, it stays exactly where it needs to, and now it will definitely stay closed. Okay, so now, wow, look at that gap. I didn't really do a good job on the bottom, but again, not a big deal. As long as the majority of it stays in place, you can always go in with a little extra glue and just clean those spots up. And that looks good as new. Okay, so with these panels here, we're going to put one on each side right at the bottom, and you'll notice that there's a little set of markers there to help you with the placement of this, so there's absolutely no question on where it goes. And for this, we do want to make sure that we get that glue out to the very edge of these panels. We want them to be nice and flush. So if we have to, give this thing a little extra line of glue along the perimeter and just kind of spread it out. And by all means, let's do that because we want it to look nice and seamless along the perimeter. Okay, and again, just use little markers there. Make sure it's nice and straight up and down. Just enough glue so that it's nice and flush all the way around. And if necessary, open up the back and push down from the inside. You don't want to push from the outside with nothing pushing against it because you may end up warping it. And you'll notice that I already put this other panel on off camera. Okay, let's take a look. And that looks pretty good. I keep holding that for just a few extra seconds. Make sure everything stays on nice and flat for me. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. And now, before we put the front on, again, you have two more sets of markers here for this piece. And this piece is going to wrap around all the way, and it should terminate perfectly on that other side. Now I'm using, this is like it's like a copper foil. It's really cool. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but anyway, it may help to take and train this a little bit. So if you have like a nice big dowel, this is a 3/8 inch dowel, take it and grab your sheet here and just kind of give it a little bit of a curve. Now with glitter, I'm using glitter, it may be a little bit harder to curve this, but you can see it's no longer flat, and I may want to curve that even more, just so that it doesn't fight me as much when I'm putting it on here. I want it to just kind of rest on there and be very easy to glue down. like that. And I'm taking a look at it before I even apply my glue to see how it's behaving. And I think that looks great. Okay, so I'm pretty much ready here. And I'm going to concentrate and make sure that I put a little extra glue right at the very ends, okay, as well as on the sides here, just like we did with that panel. Okay, we really want that to be nice and flush all the way around. Okay, and I'm on the last leg of this bottle of glue, and I just do not want to stop this video. Okay, so start here and use those little markers. Once that's in place, just kind of hold it for a few seconds, and then very slowly, just make sure that it's wrapping around nicely. And as you go, kind of feel it. Make sure that it's making good contact all the way. You don't want any gaps. Keep it nice and taut all the way down. And continue holding it from both sides, especially where it ends and terminates. And I think it did a pretty darn good job. Okay, and continue holding that. You don't want it to go flying away on us here. Yeah, and that's as good as it's going to get as far as keeping it as flush as possible. So I'm very happy with that. There's not really any gaps there. So that's good. That looks great there. That looks great there. Okay, just give that a few seconds, because all we have left now is just to put the face on this thing. And yeah, it looks kind of odd with the tabs on there, but as I mentioned, that's all going to be covered up with this piece here. Okay, so let's get moving here. I just pulled out a fresh bottle, and I'm just going to go like so. Nice semi-thick line around the perimeter. Whoops. Now's not the time to get messy. Kind of save this step for last because I knew this was going to be, well, the face of this is the most important, obviously, so we want to make sure that we do it right. Okay, I'm spreading that glue out. Just avoid hitting the vellum, obviously, very carefully. Just like that. Okay, I think we're ready to go here. Just drop this in place. Just use the little cutouts as your guides. So I'm looking at this first little cutout here on the bottom left, making sure that that is on there accurately. This, again, should be flush with the very bottom. And just work your way up, matching those up, matching that up, and so on. And if it helps, which it probably will, flip it over. And you can push down from the inside as well, which may be necessary. Okay, there we go. This part could use a little more contact. Just kind of pushing from the inside right along this little area. And there we go. Okay. Give that one final push. We can take a look at the final result here, and that looks great. Okay. Almost the final result. Everything is great looking. Wow. Okay. All right. So all that's left to do now, and we're going to finish this off with just a series of foam squares, actually, to give this thing some additional dimension. So for example, this guy here, I'm going to flip that over. Start with one in the center at the top and bottom. Go over to the left and right. I think 4 pieces of these foam dots should be more than enough. Then we'll just match this up with this little design here and just pop that right into place like so. Beautiful. Okay. These little guys are going to go right here and here. And I think we can do 2 dots or squares. You can try 1. I think 2 will just keep it from moving around too much. Get that nice and centered on there, matched up with the existing design. There it is. 1 more here. Bam and bam. Okay. Line that up. There we go. And that just leaves 2 more at the bottom. You can see how those go on. And that's really going to do it. Yeah, this one's a little, I think it's one of the more, not one of the more challenging. It's definitely challenging, but you know, a lot of you have asked for things that are a little more challenging than just simple cards and, you know, I think this falls somewhere in the middle, actually. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, you watched me. This is the one that is going to be on the website that I'm going to photograph and use it as our demo product. And you watched me put together the final version, you know, pretty much live on camera. I barely edit these, so not that hard at all. Pop that one there. And then, of course, you can open this up, put one of those cool little lights in there that alternates in colors, and you know, definitely take a look at the final photo. Probably going to bling this out in various places because obviously, you know, there's a lot you can do. We've got these little holes here that you can put little rhinestones in to act as little buttons, but overall, a beautiful little piece. It turned out great. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Can't wait to see your version of this and see what kind of colors you use, what kind of glitters, how you bling it out. I'm sure some of you will probably customize this in a bunch of different ways. Maybe someone will even put a little button on there so that it plays music. I thought about doing that. But either way, I had a great time. I hope you did as well. If you did, visit us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, hit that little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our latest bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group. But either way, I hope you guys had a great time, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.